Welcome to episode 2. For those of you who listened to the bonus episode, thank you for tuning in. We appreciate it. Let's start and kick this off the right way. Demetrius Watts, what is your favorite thing about marriage?
Favorite thing about marriage would have to be interdependency.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to the What's Up Next podcast. I'm Justine.
And I'm Demetrius, the guru of balance.
So what am I?
I would consider you a strong voice of logic.
I can accept that. Anyway, on this podcast, we're going to take a deep dive into some interesting topics and everyday situations that we face as a young married couple.
We often ask ourselves 1 or 3 questions. What's next? What's going on now? And what the hell was we thinking back then? But don't take my word for it. Keep listening and you'll find out.
And what I mean when I say that is the ability of learning how 2 parties can operate in their strengths and it be like conducive to the end goal. I think coming from just in this society, we don't really allow each other to be like, hey, man, you come with this, I come with this. How can we make it work? We expect the other person to have everything figured out. Or I expect myself to have it all figured out. But it's like, no, just giving each other the opportunity to come with what you got, where you thrive, and how can you be the most powerful half to a whole as you can.
I love that. Let's kick it off.
Let's get it.
Cool. Alrighty, so what we're going to talk about this episode is really just our first year of marriage. So as most of you know, if you listen to the first bonus episode, we did our first year of marriage during COVID, a worldwide pandemic, and that was nothing easy, but we want to highlight a couple things that we were challenged with, and more so not the event, but the principle. So let's go ahead and start with you, because I think you have a really good one that is going to kick us off.
Okay. My first one would be how my financial instability affected my emotional stability.
Okay. So to give some insight to that, when the stay-at-home order was implemented, both of us were at home for a minimum of 2 months. At a different time range, but we were at home for at least 2 months.
Essentially, yes.
So when you're talking about this, you're talking about how that affected you financially and then impacted you mentally. So go ahead. I'm curious where you're going with this.
You like I kind of know, but holla at me. So what I say by that is 2020 was rough for all of us. Obviously, the stay-at-home order affected everybody differently. For me, being self-employed, that means I was not able to work and earn money. And when I don't show up for work, I don't make money. Everybody understands that. Now, that was cool in the beginning. You know, everybody was enjoying quarantine, but eventually life still goes on. When I say that, like, your living expenses still happen. So you still got to pay rent. Right. You still got to pay bills. You got to do all that. So I had everything going out and nothing coming in. And after a while, you start to see your account start to teeter the other way, and you're like, hold on. Also in 2020, like, I was big on investments and trying to get, my stock portfolio where I wanted to. And with that comes highs and lows. You make money, you lose money. And all that kind of played into my emotional instability. Like, I wasn't able to, I was constantly on the scale. Like, I could wake up happy that I make money, or I could wake up down that I don't see what I want in my account. And I feel like that played a huge role in our dynamic naturally. You know what I'm saying? I feel like evidently, like, you're with me every day, so you would see how I'm feeling and how I'm navigating.
3 weeks was about the best we could do before I think financial instability started to impact you emotionally. And then when that was the case, I think as a spouse, you kind of don't want to talk about certain things. Yeah. Because you know that it's a touchy subject, but you know that it's things that have to get handled. So there was just certain times where I knew we just need to waive this, or not even have this discussion. Like, hey,
Right.
you might just have to take care of it because it may not be something that he's willing to talk about right now.
Yeah, and I feel like you were very understanding of that.
Oh, thank you.
Primarily because we talk more and more about like of the expectations of a man, and we know first and foremost, society tells us but your primary focus as a man should be bringing in that bread. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And when you feel like you're not doing that, or a worldwide pandemic puts a hold on how you do that,
Right.
it's like, yo, okay, where is my value at? And if you don't have it, any self-worth and understanding where your value is outside of earning money as a man, you gonna have to fight that battle.
Yeah. And
internally though.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
Is a lot of that battle was internal for you. Like I said, there were certain days where you could just tell, like, he either looked at something or something came up. A bill reminder came up, and it was just like you just didn't even want to make eye contact because it was just like, dang.
Yeah. And so that definitely was one of the big teaching moments for me in 2020.
Yeah.
So with that, I'll ask you, what was one for you?
Cool. This is where we reference right here. So one of the biggest things for me personally, and if you are a woman out there that agrees with this, please let me know because I want to make sure I'm not crazy. The principle of agreeing to disagree.
Where'd you hear that?
Hush mouth. Just agreeing to disagree. I am very strong-minded, and I feel like I'm right 90% of the time. And I will get into why I think that sometimes, especially when it comes to household dynamic, just because, you know what, let's dive into it now. I just am more hands-on with everything that goes on in terms of inside the house, outside the house, your schedule, what you need at all times, what I need, and I guess external sources. So I felt like if I know it, I should be able to argue that. And there was a lot of times, I think this past year, that I had to learn that you knew it better than I did, even though I didn't want to admit that you did. So what I'm currently in the process of doing is understanding it's okay to say, I don't know, or yes, Demetrius, you were right.
Sorry, bro.
Just agreeing to disagree. There's the energy to argue diminishes when you get married. I don't have what?
No, I heard a wise man once, like, women have energy to argue that men don't.
Men don't.
So, like, a lot of times y'all will win arguments, or you'll see us, take the back seat or whatever it may look like, defer. You know what? All right, you got it.
Yeah.
And it may look like I don't care, but it's like, yo, I don't have the energy to argue with you.
Yeah.
If you want to be right that bad, by all means, go ahead. But you ain't finna steal my peace or my joy or nothing like that.
Yeah.
Trying to be right.
And if you're a man out there and you can do this, and I'm going to give a very pure example. If you can do this, I salute you, because I now see why Demetrius does it. If you can walk away from a situation and play music hecka loud and just be in your own peace and happiness, good for you, because women can't do that. At least Justine Cortez Watts cannot do that.
Yeah, I was about to say, I don't know what other women could do.
If there's other women out there, again, that you can do that, please let me know how you got to that point, because I want to know and I want to learn. Because when we used to date, or I guess when we were dating, that used to bother me, like, to the core. Like, we would be driving, arguing, he'd turn up the music, and it would just be like,
I'm rapping.
Everything that we just talked about just went out the window. And I'm just like, dude, like, so that didn't bother you? So
no, I'm not.
We can't ride in silence together, because that doesn't. But anyway,
I'm not gonna give you that satisfaction.
Anyway, the core of what I'm saying, I already gave you your brownie points, so stop. No, I'm just kidding. I like to make sure that there is a resolution/solution in every conclusion. And I know that was a lot at one point to say, but
say it one more again for understanding.
I am a woman who always wants solution and resolution to every conclusion. So when we finish an argument or a debate or something small, I want to know that you understand what I need moving forward, or you understand what to do to fix it, in either in the moment or whatever, X amount of days, years, whatever. And I can't have that all the time, right?
It's just reality.
That's reality. Sometimes you just gotta let them fix it and show you that they can fix it. And I now know that. So I think that's my biggest one. I obviously have another one that I'll share, but that is my biggest learning thus far.
Okay.
A year and some change. Biggest one.
Got you.
What do you got?
So
you got a total of 5, right?
I think we do.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So first year of marriage, what I also took from it was learning how to lead a marriage. When I say that,
Say it again.
learning how to lead a marriage.
Okay.
And this is going to tie into my last one, but I'll say this and
Okay.
I'll give you full reign just because I feel like it was an important piece for me. It was not just doing what Justine wanted me to do. Let me look at the camera when I say that. Not just doing what Justine wanted me to do, but understanding that whatever that decision was it beneficial to both parties? And I think too often I was not willing to, I don't know what you want, give in to Justine's leadership or guidance or her suggestion because I felt like it only benefited her. When in the grand scheme of things, you were kind of thinking for the both of us, or you were like, yo, this is going to help us in this way. And sometimes you didn't state that. I kind of just had to be like, all right, bro, does this benefit both parties? Okay, cool. Then that makes sense. Let me do that. But too often I was too tied up in like, nah, if I didn't come up with this decision, or if it wasn't me that said it, it ain't going down. When it was just like, all right, bro, is that leadership or is that like a dictatorship? You know what I'm saying? Why, like, bruh, I don't know what I'm saying.
So I
know what I'm saying, but
I'm gonna bring up a story real quick. So we were walking, you know, that's our jam. We were walking, and I had said a statement, which was, you cannot have 2 alpha individuals in one relationship. You agreed or disagreed? Do you remember? Or you disputed?
I disagree. I don't know if I was kind of like, I found a loophole to it. That's what I did.
Okay. So basically what I'm saying is, you cannot have 2 alphas in a relationship, but the loophole to it, which is what Demetrius had brought up, was you can, but at some point, somebody has to be the beta.
Somebody has to defer, for sure.
If there's a situation where you need to make a decision for the betterment of both of us, I have to be able to own the fact that, okay, in this resolution, I am the beta. I am the support system to the solution that you are going to present and what you are going to move forward with. Both of us are very alpha male, alpha female.
Dominant, yeah.
People?
Yeah. Which is why we clash heads a lot.
A lot.
Yeah.
But it's also why we come to such strong solutions when we're good at it.
Yeah.
When we allow each other to be alpha beta, when we both know we want to be alphas, that is the strongest point in our relationship, I want to say, is when we can come to that, like, hey, you own it or I own it, let's move on. Easy. There's no disagreements, there's no arguments, there's no nothing.
It's like I've always said, I refer to expert power a lot. I know there's different types of power, but one I vividly remember learning about is expert power. Like, you're not going to sit there and argue with the doctor who has this much research studying, you know what I'm saying, this much time practicing this field and this endeavor. It's like, that's expert power. So you're going to take the back seat and you're going to listen to their suggestions, their answers, their recommendations, and that's going to be what it is.
Yeah.
I feel like the same thing should apply to a relationship. There's things you're going to know better than me, and it's my responsibility to take advice where it's going to lead us to a more, let me say, prospering place.
Yes. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I'd be ignorant and foolish to not take advice that will put us in a better place just because it didn't come from me.
100%.
You feel me?
100%.
So that's where I'm at with that. What's your last one?
Let's segue into my last one.
Okay.
So, for those of you who know me, you know unity is my biggest thing. If you listened to our last episode of season 1, you would know that Demetrius and I were kind of going through figure out the unity piece, right? So with that came a lot of him trying to figure it out and me trying to not over suggest something. So there was an instance where I think it was a family, no, I know it was. It was a family vacation in November. I was unable to attend. You wanted to go. And I was just like, hey, I was reactive and I can own that piece. I was like, if you go, then I'm going home for Thanksgiving. Because it landed on Thanksgiving, but that was just the time in which it worked for everybody. I didn't want to spend our first Thanksgiving by myself. We had also agreed to do like a Friendsgiving in Texas. So I was just like, you gonna make me host by myself? And then you gonna make me sit here by myself on Thanksgiving? Like, that's not cool. So I was reactive. I had said, you know what? If you're gonna go, I'm gonna go back home to Sacramento. You can figure out whatever you need to figure out. Even down to the point where I was like, you can figure out how to kennel Nala. I don't even care. Like, I'm on out. But the resolution that Demetrius Watts came up with, which was, I kid you not, almost like 2 weeks before the day that he was going to depart, was the most powerful thing I think I've seen him do. And I realized in that moment that that men need to come to their realization of unity without you. Because it's stronger and more impactful on their decisions moving forward. It's not you saying, hey, I think that X is gonna work, take my suggestion or leave it. Because his resolution to that was, I'll just push the dates, I'll stay home for Thanksgiving, which meets your needs as a wife, but I'll also go and meet the needs of my family of, hey, I'm gonna still come to this vacation. It may not be the full 5 days, but 3.5 may work.
And both were my needs, because I wanted to be present for Thanksgiving, and I wanted to be there for the family vacation. So I was able, like you said, I was able to come to a resolution that kind of aided both. And I agree, it was super. And you always make fun of it because you said, like, bro, like, I was just waiting for you to. I've been had that idea, but I never told you. But I appreciate you never like. You already know I don't like it when you kind of be like, hey, man, you could do this. And I'm like, dang, why did I not think of that? It's just like, bruh, you gave me the grace and the time to figure it out for myself.
Yeah.
And I agree. I never thought you thought that was that powerful. But I know for me, I was like, finally, bruh, you're figuring it out. And it's funny because I feel like that ties into our fifth and my last point, which was learning how to do this husband thing. And I'm gonna just classify it as searching for the standard.
That is so broad. But yes.
What's so broad?
Learning how to be, that encompasses the entire idea of this podcast, but I love it. So, sorry.
So we were talking in the shop, a lot of my thoughts, I'm around a lot of great black men, and we just bouncing ideas off each other through genuine, pure conversation.
Salute to all of you great black men. Sorry.
That's facts. Because Watts appreciate you, and Lady Watts appreciate you. And we were just having a conversation, and I looked over. I was like, Banks, bro, is it safe to say when the standard isn't set, it's searched? And he like just damn near got up and walked out and was like, bro, what? But that's it. And I realized the year of 2020 for me was I never had a standard in my own household or someone close to me that I can just be like, yeah, bro, you were it. As far as husband and leadership and household and fatherhood, all that, I didn't see that.
Yeah.
And so I literally had found myself searching for a standard that just was not set. And it's a gift and a curse because I'm allowed to figure it out on my own. But I think some things I could have saved you some hurt, could have saved me some disappointment, you know what I'm saying, in my own self. had
I agree.
I already knew what was expected out of me. And so I feel that's crazy because they tie in with one another. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of how I feel about it. That was the biggest thing for me.
I think that's big for men, though. That is super big, because too often do we talk about fatherless households. And I know you've been super passionate about this since I've met you, is just mentoring young men who are in fatherless households. So I think you going through that ignited a little bit more of like mentoring. And I remember this vividly when we had actually moved. You were like, I think I'm kind of like searching for that like
fulfillment.
Yeah. And you were like, I don't necessarily know where that's going to come from. And I think maybe a couple of weeks later, somebody had reached out to you and just wanted to connect. And you were like, I kind of got this like I got this fulfillment out of being able to just have this conversation with this young man. And granted, it may not have been about marriage. It may not have been about, honestly, it could have been about anything, right?
It was, I can tell you, I know exactly what you're talking about. And it was about school.
Yeah. But you got so much fulfillment out of being able to do that. And I think because you yearned for it and you now know like the importance of having it, that you want to be able to distribute it to other individuals as well.
Point. And not only did I yearn for it, but I'm also a product of it. Like I had a great group of men that kind of like came into my life at the proper time and offered that advice.
Absolutely.
You know, went through life with me. So it's like I know the power of that.
Yeah.
And so if I'm able to reproduce that for someone else, hell yeah, I'm doing it. Like I am doing it. And I get so much fulfillment out of it. And I don't think that's by coincidence at all. So I would agree. Was that your last piece on that?
Yeah. Yeah.
I appreciate that. I didn't know how you felt about that, but that's love, bro. That's my dog. So my final question would be for you that I'm going to ask you, because you've already asked me.
Okay.
Is what is your favorite part about marriage?
My favorite part about marriage is being able to, I think, be the heartbeat of the household.
What you mean by that?
I know what you need without you verbally telling me what you need. Not all the time, but I can almost guarantee at least 80% of the time, I know what you need before you can voice it. Or I know to ask a question and be proactive about that. Like that's one thing in life that I feel like I've done very well about being proactive about, is making sure that your needs are met. And I don't mean that in a way of like being a servant to your husband. That's not what I'm saying, right? But there is a certain level of fulfillment that comes out of being able to be the heartbeat of your household. If you think about a heart, you think about the ventricles that go out of it. And if I'm saying this wrong, for all my anatomy people, sorry, but hey. You keep the blood pumping throughout the body of this household, right? And there is something that I think a woman or a wife needs to understand at some point in time. And when it clicked for me that I am that, I think it gives you a sense of like an extra identity. Like, hey, you really are a wife. You really are X to this person. It gives you that like fulfillment that you're looking for out of being a wife. So for me, that is the most valuable, the most important piece, and my favorite part about being a wife. And yeah, I feel like every woman should have that moment where they know that they are irreplaceable as that heartbeat of the household.
Facts. I would agree. And I feel like you took a step back when you were like, not in a servant way, but yes, in a servant way, because I think you do that very well. But I think the part where it gets tied in or it starts to become misogynistic or disrespectful to women as a whole is when that is to believe that that's all you're there to do.
Yeah.
And I think, like you absolutely know how to serve and do X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And the man also has his obligation to serve, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
absolutely. You talked about it in your first bullet point there. Like, your obligation per society is to provide.
Yeah.
Right? So you know that is your role. You can own that role. You know that if you are doing that role very well, that's where your fulfillment comes out of.
But that's not where my worth stops.
Correct.
And so the worth of a woman does not start nor stop in servitude.
Absolutely. And I've told this I think I had a discussion with my mom, and I very vividly remember that I had told her, I said, I do not want my only identity to be a wife and a mother. Whenever that time comes, right? Mm-hmm. I know too many women out there who solely think about themselves as just a mom or just a wife, and that is my job and my only job. Like, no, at the same time, you are a sister, you are a daughter, you are a wife, you are a mother, you are a co-worker. Mm-hmm. Like, there is other places that you can apply. Yeah, you can apply your skills to, and different identities that you need to still maintain as you step into one. So adding an extra one is just like, hey, I know I can do this, and I know that I offer my value, and that's why I'm irreplaceable, because you won't find somebody else who can run and be the heartbeat of this household the way I can. So with that, women, understand you are the heartbeat of your household. This is episode 2 of season 2. We appreciate you for tuning in. We will catch you next Wednesday, wherever you listen to your podcast at. Tune in with What's Up Next.
Yeah, what it is, man. Peace and love.